we have our full board here, so I would like to call this meeting to order. Welcome everybody here. Hope they had a good Labor Day holiday. Let's see. First thing is approval of minutes of August 17th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes of the Tuesday, August 17th Selectmen's meeting.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion?
Sorry, I've been muted. I was seconding it. Sorry.
Okay, I'll give up that second to Marina. Great.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so we got that organized. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Communications. We did get a communication this morning from Bruce Bennett, who has a proposal about the Cogswell Bridge. I urged him or I told him that I think it would be good to put it off till our next meeting, have a chance to look at it. I personally was involved with a couple of things at the time, but definitely I think that could be put on our agenda for next time. Give us a chance to look at what he's been doing. Another communication, I'd like to put in a plug for a new business in town. The three guys ride and ski company in West Cornwall. They sold me a pair of hiking boots right here, which I recommend to everyone in Cornwall, and particularly I found them useful as we did a rescue up on the ridge in Sharon off the Appalachian Trail for distressed hiker. And I think I would be a distressed hiker if I wasn't wearing these boots. So again, it's great to have local businesses, a new one starting up, and I'd recommend people go there to see their full inventory of outdoor gear, and thank them for selling me those pair of boots. Any other communications? Additions to the agenda, I had a couple. One is housing plan and forum. Second is town office upgrade. And third is a revaluation process. So does anybody else has any other additions to the agenda?
No.
No.
Okay. Second of those three additions.
I second.
Second. Okay. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, yeah, first on our agenda is Storm Ida, which was interesting because Hurricane Henry was supposed to be the hurricane of the last 30 years. And we luckily dodged Henry, but we got hit with 4.5 inches of rain by Ida. It did do damage to quite a few driveways in town, jumped some banks of stream beds, particularly in West Cornwall, caused some flooding and damage there. Also dislodged some rocks in Millbrook, the retaining wall there. So Jim's having to go later this week to try to put that some of the dislodged stones up back in place. But I think it again shows the severe weather we're getting on a fairly regular basis now. And again, thanks for the highway crew for getting out and helping people get their drains unclogged and make the situation better, because there was, as I said, some flooding and things we have to be prepared for. And it's helpful to have a crew that knows where all the drains are supposed to be, even if they have 2 feet of water on top of them. So anyway, we got through that all right, but again, we have to be ready for storms. And one of the things we're thinking of doing is getting a insert about weather preparedness, probably for the November Chronicle issue, to advise people on how to prepare for bad weather as we get into the winter season. Next to have COVID coronavirus update. Let's see, there's numbers continue to creep up a bit in town and the region. We are having some events this weekend. It was nice to see some of the events on Labor Day, but people are requested to wear masks at the agricultural fair, especially because there'll be a lot of unvaccinated kids there, but especially if people have compromised health, they should wear masks. And again, we're in touch with the schools. Schools successfully open, but we have to, be prepared as people spend more time indoors for this to come back, and hopefully it will not be as severe as last winter. Anybody had any updates on COVID or whatever? Again, we are seeing some cases in town. And so we're monitoring, that situation the best we can. Our COVID American Recovery Fund group is meeting again next Wednesday to talk about how we're going to spend some of the proposed money the town's getting, and we'll have an update on that at our next meeting. West Cornwall, probably one of our bigger issues is still hanging out there, is the West Cornwall wastewater project update. To refresh people, we did hear from our Congresswoman Johanna Hayes that we have a proposal for West Cornwall wastewater management. It was included in the Appropriations Committee's budget, which is now in Congress awaiting Senate and congressional approval, which they're going to have to move fairly quickly on that. The new budget is supposed to be adopted by the end of September. So one thing I wanted to review with the board is the idea that I have discussed with the town's bond council about us voting on this proposal this fall. And I wanted to run this past the board, as we still have plenty of time to do this, but if we are going to vote in 2021, we want to do it before the weather turns for the worse and it becomes more problematic to have an in-person vote. Little background: the no-fault absentee ballot provisions of the emergency declarations from the state of Connecticut expire with this municipal election on November 2nd. So I'm assuming, as we've said before, that the town will have a full machine vote with absentee ballots available, but absentee ballots will only be available if you're not in town or have a medical reason not to show up. You cannot use COVID as a reason you're not going to vote in person. So there'll be, again, a pretty hefty turnout, I think, for this. And it will be a major undertaking to get the vote going, but I have talked to our election officials, and have some thoughts for the board. The municipal election is scheduled for November 2nd. So that's a very fixed point. The computers and equipment that we use have to be programmed, and we need to have at least 2 weeks around each use of that equipment. So again, we thought briefly about doing that before November 2nd, but I think it would be rushing things. So again, we're pushing up against, if you go into December, you get worse weather, you get the holidays, you got some things. So it seemed like the best target date we have at this point is to try to have a referendum on the 20th of November, which seems like a long way away from today. It's over 2 months away, but we have to do a lot to get to that point. And we have to have a town meeting 2 weeks before a referendum. And we would have to get information into the Chronicle. We're going to do a explanatory text by the middle of October. We'd have an informational meeting. And again, we'd have to have our information set by the middle of October. So again, we don't even have enough time if we wanted to put all that out to do it in October as far as town meeting referendum. So it pushes us back into November. We do have some time in which to agree to this schedule, but we need to sign off probably by our first meeting in October, if that's what the board wants to do. Is that all fairly clear as far as the parameters? I can write this all up. But there are requirements as far as voting and having to have a town meeting ahead of the referendum. The referendum is a fancy name for a machine vote. It'd be an in-person vote by machine with absentee ballots available for people that either have medical conditions or are not in town on that date. So my thought is what we would do is start crunching the numbers as we did last year at about this time to try to get a vote off. And as this amount of aid is significantly greater than what we were talking about before, the tax impact on local taxpayers would be even less. But we need to know what those numbers are. So what my thought is to try to get a written update from our Congress or senators to where we are in the process and to keep the board in the loop on that. And what we would do is even if, and again, it's very hard to peg our actions on a potential congressional vote because that vote, is still a ways off, and Washington politics are volatile. They're operating on fairly small margins, passing a lot of these bills and things. But the thought is if the town of Cornwall wants to do this project and we vote in the affirmative, then we wait for Washington to catch up. Hopefully they'll have that done, but this vote would only authorize the town to proceed if we get $3 million or something very close to $3 million from the federal government to do this. If all of a sudden the government shuts down and they default or there's a big emergency and they slash this, then we don't proceed. But at least that way we've done our part, because again, it basically takes us 2 months to vote. It doesn't take the Congress or the Senate that long to vote. It may take them that long to decide, but we do have a fairly lengthy process to put in place. And we can get the information out. I think the engineering is done. A lot of the environmental review is done. The financial impacts can be done fairly soon. And again, we have people that are, looking at Cornwall, looking at establishing things here. And I think, again, our board has been supportive of the project, and there's no reason why we can't vote on this, as far as I'm concerned, this fall, contingent upon getting the funding that we think we're going to get from the federal government. So that's the big picture that we've gotten. And I am in touch with the town bond council so that everything we do has to go past him, and we have to update our explanatory text with the financial information so that we can get it past the state of Connecticut elections office, ahead of time. So that needs to be done fairly soon. Does that make sense? Is that confusing? Any questions?
That makes sense.
Yeah, my thought is if it's out there, let's get it done, because Congress can vote in January. To me, it's not realistic to think we can pull off a referendum or these in-person meetings and count on any date in, necessarily in December, January,
Right.
February, even March. So I'd rather get this in the, get this done. I think most people have an idea of pro or con, whether they like it. And we have 2 months to prepare people with information, answer questions, have information meetings, have town meetings. But if we establish this, around the municipal election, our election workers are comfortable with that. Again, there will be a set, absentee ballots will be available for this, and they'll be available about the first week in November. So they'll be finished their municipal election and then be ready to take this on. Priscilla, what do you think?
I agree. I think we should do it and plan as early as we can to have everything ready.
Great. Yeah. So again, we'll need to work with our work group to revise our explanatory text with our new funding. I'll get you information as much as I can from our representatives in Washington to clearly explain where we are in the process. And again, I believe their budget is supposed to start on October 1st. So in theory, they're going to have a vote on this month. So again, we will know more, and we don't have to vote to, sign off on it till the first week in October. So we still have some time to work on language and text and things. So anyway, so let's, what I'd like to do is, can we then have a motion from the board to proceed with a referendum on the West Cornwall wastewater project to attempt to have a vote on this and get all the information in place this November, by the end of November.
I so move.
Yes. Is there a second?
I second.
Great. And again, this is just a general idea at this point, but again, we're trying to get this out ahead of time. Well, ahead of time, there's a lot of legwork and detail work to be done. A lot of the detail work has been done, but let's get going on it. I think people are interested and anxious for us to move that in place. So any other thoughts, any other comments?
Nope, that sounds great.
All right, great. And again, we'll keep this on the agenda and update it and formalize it in the next several meetings. Okay, so all's in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So back to our text there. We did get a request from our photographer in chief, Laszlo Gorzak, to donate $1,000 of recyclable money. We get money for recycling bottles at the transfer station, which we have dispersed to various worthy organizations in town. And again, Laszlo and several town members are members of the Housatonic Camera Club, which also has some young photographers in town. So they requested $1,000, and we have a little explanation of things they do. But in short, they take photographs in Cornwall and encourage younger people to do the same. So, and again, I think the work that Laszlo's done to document life in Cornwall through his talented lens is really important. It's important for the website when we present ourselves, and it's important for people to see what's happened as it happens. And he did a great thing, portraits of people during the pandemic. So I'll make a motion that we go ahead with that request. Is there a second?
I'll second that. And I'd like to add, I think it's wonderful that Laszlo is involving a lot of young people in this movement. I think that's very positive.
Okay. Yes, you know a photographer, don't you, Priscilla?
I do know, Doctor, I live with one.
You live with a photographer. Yeah, good. So anyway, no, I think it's a great idea, and I like the fact we do make this available to different organizations. Any thoughts, Marina?
No, it sounds great. I'm all for it.
Great. Okay, so all's in favor?
I,
Aye. Transportation upgrade, we have been in talk with Lisa. And we are working on the last language to go out to bid as soon as possible. And I think we did vote to do that last time.
Good.
Yeah, so I think we're still getting the exact language worked out, but our thought is we will go out to bid before the next meeting. And we're gonna put in there as part of the bid documents how long the construction interval will be, how long will it take people to do the work, and how soon can they start? Because again, we want to have a minimum of interruption to our transfer station there. And so anyway, I hope to do that and get that out as soon as possible with Lisa's help and get bids back. If not at the next meeting, then, at the meeting afterwards, and we can at least identify the, apparent low bidders, so to get the work underway. So anything else on the transfer station upgrade? We did,
Rush Lisa along because we're going into fall, winter, and weather is going to become a problem if we don't get started soon.
yeah. Yep.
yeah,
okay.
I agree.
Yeah, so we will get this out as soon as possible and probably have a fairly quick turnaround for the bids. If we detect interest, we'll probably have a 2-week turnaround for the bids to be due, and then we can even have a special meeting to award those if it comes. We'll just see when it is. But again, we want to get onto that. We did buy a couple new recycling bins today. We authorized those purchases, so we're working on that. So those will be in place soon. Fuel bids, we did get a couple of quotes. There's one from the Cornwall Fuel Co-op that went with Bantam Wesson for $2.59 a gallon, and we got one from Quintico, who we used last year successfully for the same price. So did everybody see those bids? Did you have a chance to look at them?
Yeah.
Great. So I would make a motion that we stay with Quintico because we found their service and dependability to be very good. So I'm content with that being a decent price, and would make a motion we'd accept their bid. Is there a second to that?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes, now I'm gonna go out and get some bids for our propane. Because we want to get some good prices on that, because we are converting more of our buildings to cleaner fuel of propane. But as we use more, it's more important we get the best price. So hopefully I'll have some bids for you on that at our next meeting.
Good.
Yeah, we got some next we got some interesting news out of, you may have read in the media. We got some interesting news out of the preliminary census data that our little town had the second highest 10-year growth from 2010 of any town in Litchfield County. Our neighbor to the
That's exciting.
yeah, so our neighbor, Region 1 neighbor in Salisbury beat us, which is fine. We don't always have to be first, but it's great. It's 10. The little words are coming. What's interesting is coming in about 10% growth over 2010, with a dip detected in between the two census. So what we're looking at, the recent population growth here as full-time residents, so defined for the 2020 census, more than made up for a population decline that we saw in the 20 teens. So it's really exciting. I think also what you're seeing is an increasing amount of what had been part-time residents becoming full-time residents, and vacant houses becoming occupied. unfortunately, I got to meet some of our newest residents when the driveways got washed out, but it is interesting how many new people are here, and we look forward to meeting them all. And I think, again, it's a very exciting thing, and we're going to learn more as we dig into those numbers more thoroughly. And it is still changing, but my conversations with our friends at the elementary school is the population there is stabilized, if not slightly increasing. So again, we're seeing some really positive signs and growth, and certainly there's a lot of baby carriages on our roadside still. A lot of good feedback from young parents, and I met one woman who had grew up here and come all the way back from Africa to have her kids go to the school for a while. So she hopes to be able to stay here. So anyway, it's kind of interesting how things are changing, and in a very favorable trend, I think. So we'll keep our eye on that. Any other thoughts on census numbers?
Well, one thing, excuse me, the Cornwall Association will be holding a newcomers tea at our library at 3 p.m. on Saturday, October 16th. So Marina and Gordon, you should be aware of that.
Yeah.
Please
That's
put
great.
it on calendars. Yep. That's the Cornwall Association.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have 2 years of
A little gift bag. So if you have any ideas for what should be included in that gift bag, we're looking for brochures from different businesses and organizations, that kind of thing. Get a hold of Gary Stengall.
Yeah, I'll talk to.
Just let me just point out one thing. The email that I got from Gary Steinkohl said that they were going to have 60 individuals or families who were technically newcomers to Cornwall.
Yeah.
60.
Wow.
That's a lot.
It's gotta be.
Exciting.
It's 2 years, and yeah, so you might have to have that one outside. Who knows? I mean, I don't think you can fit 60 people in the library, but who knows? Anyway, very encouraging. Have that date down, and we'll look forward to that event. Yeah, good. So then we have our tax refund recommendations. John has sent those along. We have 6 motor vehicle taxes overpaid for a total of $261.05 so I make a motion, we grant those tax refunds based on the recommendation of our excellent tax collector.
I second.
2 seconds.
Okay.
Very
No.
good. All in agreement.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye. So next we have additions to the agenda, starting out with our housing plan committee. They're meeting again tomorrow at 4 o'clock by Zoom. They're working on drafting their plan. They have set a date for a public forum, which is October 20th. So again, we're looking to have the draft approved by the end of this month and well ahead of that, and it will be up on the website. So again, there's some new ideas that are coming up on how to keep Cornwall growing and meet some of the housing needs that have been out there for a long time. And I would say, yeah, I just had another conversation with a Central Town volunteer who is again looking for a place so he and his wife can stay in Cornwall. The need is real, it's out there, it's continuing, and thank the group for spending time working on some innovative strategies to present. So there'll be a forum in October. Then the group will take into account feedback from the forum and present their finalized plan to this board and the Planning and Zoning Commission before the end of the year. So again, that's been a goal of this board to move forward, and the committee is moving forward on it. Next, I have town office upgrade. We got a memo from Jim Terrell about the condition of the roof at the town hall or town office, which we started to work on last year. He recommends looking at, as he's looked at it now, replacing the whole, the shingles are all basically deteriorated, and he's recommending that we replace the whole roof. He's quoting us $7,600 to do that. It's not just one roof, but there's been 2 additions on to that building, and they could all use new roofing. There is also some siding work that needs to be done, and I think what I'm going to try to do is put out a specification when we go out to bid on the transfer station to see if we can get some bids on that. But I would like to proceed on getting the roofing locked down, as soon as possible. And I think $7,600 is a fair thing, and that will sort of button up most of the work we anticipated when we started the heating project and other things on that building. So I would make a motion to proceed with his quote of $7,600 to re-roof the building. Is there a second?
I'll second, but I have a question.
Yeah.
Have they looked into any other kind of roofing for a more efficiency? I hear a lot about metal roofing. That's why I'm asking the question. I
Interesting.
don't mean the ridge kind. I mean they look like shingles, but they're metal.
No, haven't heard much about that. I mean, I have seen metal roofs on other buildings and things, but not for my last conversation with one of the local roofers were that the asphalt shingles that they've improved them. They last almost as long as the metal at this point, and it's quite a bit. It's less expensive. So that's my knowledge to date. I mean, we can table this part if you want to table it. Marina, do you have any thoughts on this issue?
I mean, I think the most prudent direction would be to figure out like longevity, right? So like if there is maybe something that's more expensive, it will last longer and would make sense from an energy efficiency standpoint. Maybe it makes more sense to look at those options like, holistically. If Jim has any intel on that, that would be interesting to hear.
All right, we will get back with the intel.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And it's not, yeah, I think it can be done fairly quickly, so we're not under the gun as much as we are at the transfer station. So,
Okay.
great.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I think it makes sense to look at it long term, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so let's table that to the next time. Good. All right. So then I think that's all we had on our agenda, except for public comments. I think there are some public out there in Zoom land. So John, do you want to see who's out there with comments?
Were you gonna do the re-eval?
Oh, the reval. Yeah, sorry, I forgot the extra last thing. Yeah, so I have been meeting today with our assessor, Barbara Bigos, who is going to put out a letter to everyone. She has completed her physical revaluation, visiting every property in Cornwall and conferring with the data, and she's come up with values for everybody. So that process is continuing, and later this month, Cornwall residents will get their envelope with their new values. She is seeing a substantial increase in value to property in Cornwall. So people should be, I don't think people will be surprised if they see an increase in value. And of course, there is a tremendous variety of property and buildings in Cornwall, including commercial buildings and residential buildings. So there's also, people should know right up front that there's sort of a two-stage appeals process that is put in place, because this is a very important issue to many people. The first thing is there is an appeal to the assessor. She is have several months in which people are welcome to come in and meet with her, understand her methodology, what she saw, how she came up with the numbers, what comparable properties she used in her analysis, and then see what, see how she justifies the numbers. If they're not, and we had very good luck 10 years ago, and we also had a significant increase 5 years ago when we did this. The overall property values went down because we were still feeling the after effects of the 2008 recession. So people tend to complain less when their assessments go down, but also people should realize that most people's assessments are going up. The overall number is going up, and generally the tax rate will go down. But if you're not satisfied with Barbara's explanation for why your property went up, there's a whole elected town board called the Board of Assessment Appeals, which does meet regularly, and they are trained on how to judge this. So it is an elected group that has the final say, at least from the town of Cornwall, to sort of mediate and explain and hear. They actually have hearings, and they go and visit and do an independent analysis of what's going on. So those things are all spelled out in the information that people will be getting, that will be put up on the website. So there is an appeals process that is in place, has been in place, is required. And we were able last several times around to pretty successfully mediate everybody's concerns. And that's probably 1,000 taxpayers or something like that, or taxable parcels. So anyway, people can look forward to seeing the new numbers and see where we're at. And again, that's an important process that we have a trained and skilled group of people working on to make sure it's done as fairly as possible. And again, they peg it to the market rates as of what they see right now at this point in time. So anyway, look out for that. So that's what I had for the regular agenda. And are there any public comments?
I'm not seeing any takers tonight.
Any takers? Okay. All right. So anyway, thank you all for attending, and we'll look forward to talking about some of these issues more and getting to work on the vote that we decided. And again, thank
Super.
you, John. It happened. Thanks to the Board of Selectmen for your input, and thanks for everybody for watching. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Take care. Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.